Well, what has happened since 2004? Most, if not all hospitals have started with safety management. No hospital is as yet fully compliant. There are now 1 or 2 that have recently been certified. It takes a lot longer than, say, in the airline or chemical industry. And I just wonder sometimes why. Yes, it's not a clear organizational structure as an oil company or an airline company where the bosses on top can say to all the hospitals, and now it has to be done. We have 100 different hospitals in the Netherlands, and they all have their own boards and they all have their autonomy. So yes, that has been conducive to it taking much longer than necessary. But in that whole process, and that's why in the end I have advised not to immediately make legislation yet, although ultimately I think you need to make legislation to safeguard the whole situation. But in the process towards it, let it develop of people doing it out of their heart and as a cultural element. And then hospitals and governments and specialists have agreed that in 2012, this has been an agreement by the Surgeons Organization, that by 2012 every hospital has a safety management system. And they have developed a checklist now, the Surpass checklist, which I think is being used now more and more widely, if not in most of the operation rooms in hospitals. My observation from outside, still that boards of hospitals do not exert sufficient leadership on this issue yet. I think there is still at times a reluctant attitude, and sometimes it's even worse. But the whole hospital goes wrong, as we've recently found in a hospital in the middle of the Netherlands. But and that in the end now in private hands has shown to be able to manage costs dramatically and improve safety dramatically. In my view, it still takes too long, and I still believe that the argument, and I still hear that argument at times, that it costs too much. We have to put people on the subject, and we have to look at our costs in the hospital, and we can't do it. It is the type of investment in people, and it's not real big money in terms of equipment you have to do it. It's people's time. And it has to start with senior management. If senior management in the hospital are not convinced that this is the right thing to do, you have only a very small chance that these things are properly addressed to it. And I think we are now in a situation that the supervisory boards of the hospitals have to really make sure that it's ingrained in their role as well as supervisory board, that they monitor what's happening on the safety improvement programs in hospitals. And this is something that, again, you can put in law, or at least in formal government regulations. The government safety inspections is indeed actively monitoring now, and you see more and more that where things go wrong, they take appropriate steps. And I think that's the right way to do. Give warnings to people, give another warning, but in the end you have to have sanctions. There have to be sanctions, and people have to realize that there is a limit to what you can accept in unprofessional behavior. The HSMR, you all know what it is now being published in the Netherlands. It's not freely published yet, if I remember right, but at least all hospitals know what their rating is. And the standard thing that you still hear is that when people are too low on the rating, they say, yeah, but our situation is different. Our situation is different. We have those particular cases that others don't have, and I can tell you, this is exactly the same story as a refinery in Philippines, as a refinery in Brazil, or a refinery in Pernis. No, we said in Brazil, our situation is completely different. We have people with different education. You can't compare it with the Netherlands. And I can tell you, these issues you can compare all over the world. They're all standard, they're all the same, and mark my word, this HSMR, and maybe you have to modify something and learn to do things better, in the end will be a good indicator of whether safety is taken seriously in a hospital or not. And that's what it's all about. As I said, governance is still too relaxed. There's no clarity still in quite a few hospitals about who is really in charge. Has the managing director of the hospital, if he's not does not have a medical background, and that can happen, you can still do a good job managing a hospital. Has he got the authority over the medical staff when it concerns safety? When you start probing on those issues, it's not always very clear. And this has to do a little bit with the Dutch culture. I'm sure people in the States and other parts of the world will find that a little bit different. But we have a polder culture of being responsible together, and at times, therefore, these responsibilities are now taken clearly. It's improving. So if I'm positive about it, I say it's a lot better than 4 years ago, but I think we've still got a way to go in Holland.